All right, welcome back to MGD 111. We're going to continue retouching with the clone stamp tool. Here's some additional uses. Whoops, helps if we zoom in on it correctly. Some additional uses for our tool here. Let's say I want to get rid of this antenna in the background here. If I try to use the clone stamp tool, as I get towards the base of the car, you'll see, oops, I sort of drew some leaves over the car. So I'm going to undo that. We can use this in conjunction with our selection tool. So if I just take my selection tool and just make sure that I'm selecting right on the edge of this blue sheet metal here, I can select a nice area. There we go. Anything that I try to stamp to will only show up in this area here. So let's slide over here, and it'll copy from outside here, but it'll only copy to this area. So watch what happens. If I select right here and start copying, you'll notice it doesn't brush anything out here. But as I move inside that circle, or inside that polygon that we drew, it does fill that in. And notice as we get down to the edge of the car is not affected. So that's a pretty useful function there. Now if I deselect, we have to be careful and make sure that we don't have some sharp edge that just showed up. So we have to be really careful with that. Another thing we have to worry about too is repeating patterns that shouldn't be repeated. You'll notice right in here, see this branch? Well, here's the same branch right here. You have to be careful with that sort of thing, especially if it's something in nature that shouldn't show up. It's really easy to accidentally do that. If I'm brushing in an area, let's say I want to select, sorry, my brush here. If I'm selecting this area and I brush, there it is, and I move my brush over here again, and I brush over here again, you'll notice I get the same tree over and over again. You want to avoid that for the most part. I mean, occasionally you might want something goofy looking like that, but we have to be careful with that. So just be careful to make sure that you reselect. Don't select anything too obvious for too big a chunk, and just sort of mix it up a little bit so it's a little less obvious. To the trained eye, you know, some of these things are really obvious when you see them. You just want to be very careful with that. People have gotten fired for such things. So let's go back to our original state here, and we're going to do just a few more things with our enhancement.